Hey all, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Boy, you're waking up on Christmas Day and the first thing you're going to do is watch an SLB video. Isn't that spectacular? You better hide it from your wife or whomever, though. I'm not sure. It might not
Comment down below if you're watching us on the toilet.
do that. Comment down below if you actually watched the SLB video on Christmas Day, first thing in the morning.
Yes. Specifically the toilet.
But I promise you, if you did, I hope you didn't get in trouble. I hope you stay on the straight and narrow. Stay on the straight and narrow as a family. You don't want to get, this Christmas Day, you don't want to get out of bounds here. Trust me, I am I right? I have to stay in my lane for the whole month of December, not just Christmas Day. So I'm well used to it by now.
Yeah.
By today, I know my path. I'm not going to stay in it.
That's fair. To be clear, we are not recording this on Christmas Eve. This is currently Sunday.
Yep.
Because this week is going to be insane.
Yep.
And we're just getting it out of the way.
Yeah. All right, guys. Today we're going to be dealing with a subject that I thought was a fabulous idea from our patrons when we live streamed our top 5 tastings. They came up with this idea. We were kind of bantering back and forth of something we could do for today's show. And so we came up with the most notables for 2024. Now, this isn't a list from 1 to 5, 5 to 1, best to, last to first. This is just a general grouping of what Trenton and I, now this isn't just him and I too. This isn't a panel or nothing else. This is some of the releases and other information that we felt was most notable and needed recognition in the year of 2024.
Yeah. And there were a lot of comments like, how could you not include this? Or why wasn't this included? Stay tuned. I mean, some of the stuff that
I agree.
You were talking about in the comments might actually show up in here. So.
And I saw that too. And I promise you there are several.
Yes.
Several. All right, guys. I'm going to start it out. Check it out. I'm excited, as you can tell. I really love the idea of this show. I'm geared up for it. And I know this is going to shock the world because I'm not a massive Jim Beam fan, but it has to be recognized. Jim Beam, 7-year, in my opinion, most notable release in a budget type category for 2024. I think it's a really good pour. I think there's some really great flavors in there, and you get all that for around $30.
And it's a 7-year.
And it's a 7-year.
What is this proof? 90 proof.
Kudos, and I've said it before, I will say it on this show again, even though, in general speaking terms, I'm not a massive fan of Jim Beam. They released several whiskeys in the budget category this particular year, and I give them all the praise in the world for that.
Yeah.
Not everybody can afford to buy $100 bottles, and nor should, if they cannot, or choose not to in either case, should they lack in buying a nice, solid bourbon to sip on. That's one right there. Thankful for it this year, Jim Beam. Thank you.
And I guess this is still readily available. It should be a shelfer at this point, and
I see it.
The price on this is amazing.
Yeah.
And it beat Wild Turkey 101 on the blind this year.
And it did.
So
there you have that.
That's if Kurt is saying this about Jim Beam,
yeah.
you know it's got to be good.
Yeah.
It's got to be good.
Yeah.
We're gonna follow suit with Jim Beam, and I think
okay, I know what's coming next.
I think we were gonna kind of phrase this notability thing a little bit different, but I think this is probably the best Jim Beam release this year, just outright, and the best of its label in ever. Little Book 8. This was not included in the Rise because there is technically, according to the label, 18-year Kentucky straight bourbon in it that is a high rye.
Right.
So it didn't fit into the rye category, and it wasn't good enough to fit into some of the other allocated.
The top. It would have been. We actually tasted it in the top 5 whiskey show, but it just didn't quite make it. And I will say this: right. You probably don't remember, but between you, Kent, and Michelle, there was some grandstanding going on for this particular bottle to kind of make it.
And it was tough because it is basically almost a rye.
Right.
So we were talking about putting this in the top 5 ryes video. We were live streaming this for a Patreon group, so we talked to them and they said, "Nope,
right.
It's not a rye.
Right.
It's like a burr rye or whatever."
It is.
And it's also you don't find these on the shelf. It's kind of allocated, so it's difficult. We didn't know kind of where to go about it, but this is the best little book that I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I think this really kind of shows what Jim Beam has in store with all their ryes. There's like 6 different ryes in here, and also an 18-year Kentucky straight bourbon. They don't say how much of each thing is in here, so it could be 0.01% of the 18-year. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but unreal.
I think as far as the notable factor of a trend, that has to be. By the way, I haven't tasted some of the little books from years and years ago, but that's the best little book I've ever tasted.
It's a little
Let's
bit
just
minty.
put it that way.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it is good.
I do.
And I'm not necessarily drawn to burr ryes.
I'm not either.
It's usually not quite my thing. There's a couple that I like. You're getting crazy over there. But that one's very good. I'm happy for you that you were able to put it in this list because you wanted it somewhere.
Jim Beam either did really good in some categories this year or just really bad. There wasn't many in-betweens.
Yeah, there wasn't any Bookers that we really were drawn to for this year.
The Reserves was good, but still, it's expensive, and it's an 8-year Bookers, and I'm not buying Bookers next year.
Yeah. All right. So, well, let's not get into that side.
I kind of want to.
No. This is more uplifting. This is feel-good type of video, so we're not going to go down that.
Well, let's continue that. What do you got next?
Snowball, we don't need to get bigger.
Yep. What do you got next?
All right, for me, guys, and I think for a lot of folks out there, and this is a lot of comments that I saw as far as the allocated releases are concerned. To me, the most notable allocated release for 2024, the Wild Turkey Jimmy Russell's 70th anniversary release that they did. Now, taste only. It didn't quite make it into the allocated list. Didn't quite make it. Just on taste only. But I wanted to highlight it here today, and this particular bottle is what kind of brainstormed me into this entire list because it needed to be mentioned. Because it's an allocated release. Wild Turkey's been going a little bit nuts at the last few years with their elevated pricing and their special releases and allocated releases. We all know that. $50. Right around $50 this year, you could have got this elevated, basically Wild Turkey 101. It's an 8-year age stated 101. Okay? I think this speaks volumes to the legacy of Wild Turkey and to the character and the integrity of one Jimmy Russell.
I agree.
He's the man, right? He is the man. He could have went in there and picked out 15-year-old barrels or whatever barrels and made it as, high and mighty, and it's a $500 bottle. And guess what? I probably would have bought the sucker too. But no, for Jimmy Russell, he said, and I'm reading into this, and I'm going to, because this is the way I want it to feel in myself.
That's what it's all about.
He went to whoever else, the board, wherever he's talking to, and he said, no, you know what, we're not going down that road. We're going to do a 101. We're going to do an 8-year, and we're going to put it out there for a decent price. Well, God bless you, Jimmy. You have done wonders for the bourbon world, the bourbon community, and we appreciate you and we love you for all that. Most notable allocated release trend in 2024. Put your hands together for Wild Turkey's 70th year.
Golf clap. No, this was a very solid bottle.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I'm mostly glad that they didn't take this momentous. How often do you see anybody at a job for 70 years?
Amazing.
Especially now, like never. The fact that he's been with Wild Turkey for 70 years, it's like almost 3 times as long as I've been alive, is insane. I can't do a job for more than 3 years without getting bored. I can't imagine.
That's true.
I can't imagine doing something like having that much passion to do it for that long.
Yeah.
I just can't. And the fact that this was $50 or $60, and it just kind of ties back to what made Wild Turkey Wild Turkey. It's not an allocated, it doesn't come in a fancy box. It's an 8-year, it's their standard core product, a little bit elevated.
Love it. It's wonderful.
I completely agree with that.
I'm very thankful that I have this bottle in a backup.
Yeah.
And a backup won't be open for quite a while.
I don't have
something I think I'm going to wait a decent amount of years, Lord willing, if Lord feels good enough to give me those years. It'll probably be 4 or 5 years down the road, I'll open the next one. It means that much to me. It really does. So
it's a really cool allocated release.
All right, buddy.
Speaking of Wild Turkey, I don't really know how to go about this notability kind of accolade that we're providing. This came in 6th for our rye whiskeys.
It did.
Our rye whiskey kind of panel was the longest that we spent on any other topic. I think it was about 3 hours. And it was tough because Kent, myself, Michelle love rye, and Kurt's been kind of getting into rye a little bit more this year. So it's been really interesting how all of our palates kind of align and what we prefer and don't prefer in a rye. I don't know what to call this one. Maybe the best finish of the year, the best NDP rye producer. I have no idea. The Raconteur rye finished in Mizunara cask. I believe it's a Japanese oak. I didn't do any research before this video. Surprise, surprise. This is a 7-year. It is sourced, but it is from Rare Bird 101, David Jennings.
Yeah.
I think this might still be available on either Sealbox or Bourbon Outfitters. I'm not entirely sure. You can check it out. It's about $130. But this is without a doubt one of the best rye releases this year. And it's really cool to see a 7-year product with this type of finish on it that is so unique and elaborate.
And rich.
There's so many facets of this that are just like, I'm surprised this didn't make it in the top 5.
Yeah, and I can't be more happy for one David Jennings.
Yeah.
He's done so much for the whiskey community. If you guys haven't checked him out, check his blog, Rarebird 101. He is the be-all, end-all. And I said that probably 10 times on this show, on this platform, but he's the be-all, end-all in wild turkey knowledge and information. And he's a supporter of this show. And I can't be more thankful for that. And I can't be more thankful for your friendship and your support and your encouraging words. And hopefully we've done the same for you because you're a good man. And I appreciate that. So I'm glad you found a way. I mean, that's when you came down here and I had some of these ideas wrote down. You went and grabbed the bottle and said, this one's got to be in. I don't know what I'm going to call it. I'll just call it something. But I'm glad you put it in. You know, I don't care what we call what notable it is. But it's a beautiful bottle, and it's just a wonderful, rich finish, beautiful tastes in it. Great job.
And from what I can tell, there's going to be more releases in 2025. Mm-hmm. He had hinted a few things at me, which I will not share because I'm not sure if that is okay or not. But I'm excited to see what batch 3, 4, and beyond are for this label because it's fantastic. Really. Yeah,
can't be more happy for you, David. No, it's my turn, isn't it?
It is.
Wonderful. Yeah. I'm gonna put something in front of you that none of you have ever even known about. We had it in a show not long ago, but some of you may not have seen that show. But I'm gonna call it the most notable craft bourbon release of 2024 for us.
Yeah.
Down here at the SLB Basement Bourbon Bar, coming out of McLaughlin, out of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. McLaughlin Distillery Baby Barrel Bourbon Whiskey. This is their cask strength version. I can't read that because it's kind of etched in here. I think it's roughly around 123 proof. This stuff is, there it is right there, cask strength, baby barrel bourbon, bottle 767, guys.
Sorry, I'm going off screen for a sec because we forgot one in this show.
All right, go ahead.
And you don't even know what it is.
Wow, all right. Well, while Trenton's gone, I'm going to elaborate here, okay? This was sent to me. So I do appreciate that. I would have never known these good folks. Do yourself a favor, read their bio in their website. That'll tell you everything you want to know about the company. They're good people who take care of their people that they work with. Wonderful integrity. I can't say better words for them in that regard. This particular whiskey for me is full flavored. It's rich. It is somewhat crafty. Now, there will be some folks out there we talked about before that kind of, they may not like a little bit of that craft type of a flavor palette. And some that Trent and I both really like it. This was actually in our last live stream here just a few days ago, and my brother wasn't as fond of this as I was. He had a little bit lower on his list. I have a little bit higher on my list. So that is a factor. But let me just tell you something right now. This is a butterscotch boomerang. I mean, that thing is just amazing. It has those little bit of crafty notes in the most wonderful way possible. It is a tiny bit expensive. I shouldn't say tiny bit. It's a little bit expensive. Okay, I got to retract. I'm kind of on a roll here. It is expensive. It's going to cost you $200. But I will promise you this is going to be on the shelf for a while when we pour it every once in a while. This is actually aged in those little tiny barrels. It's the craziest thing. It's just, I was dumbfounded when I opened this. So, hey, craft distillery for me, the release for 2024, you know it's going to be McLaughlin.
Dude, this just smells like a fresh Hershey's chocolate bar.
It's amazing. I don't know what else to say. It's incredible. Thank you for sending it to me too. But hey, and I would just say this too. There's folks that send me stuff quite often, and I will taste it. And if I'm not that fond of it, I just don't put it on a show. If somebody was decent enough and kind to me to send me something, I'm not really going to rip it to shreds.
Yeah.
But there's stuff I don't like, and I won't put it up there. I will never say I like something when I don't.
Yeah.
I will never do that.
I might need to have you go find this one because I'm not entirely sure where it went. It was right on the shelf. He found it in like 2 seconds, so now we're back.
All right, now that we've regrouped a little bit, Trenton's kind of, he's getting into the moment. I can feel his excitement level peaking. This is what I want to see from you. This is how I want you to operate here behind the camera. Get your excitement level up there. This is what I like to see.
Okay.
So great.
You did this one? Should I do this one?
You can, sure.
I also don't know what to call this one. I would call this like the best experiment of the year, like classified as an actual experiment. Right. It's a rye, comes out of Journeyman. This is their farm rye. It's an experimented malted barley rye malt whiskey. And this one comes at 112.5 proof. But we've tried some that are in the 150s or upwards, like the upper echelon of the 140s.
I never did. Never had the opportunity.
One of Kent's buddies, Brad, he brought this one over for the blind that we did in last month, the rye blind.
Really? So I did?
Yeah.
Wow, well, I would have never known it was 150 proof. I'll promise you that.
It drank, honestly, like more like a 115. It was still a little bit hot, but not quite like a bottled and bond type. And it was just like motor oil looking. But it has such a nice, rich viscosity, and it's just like weird, but insanely good. Like a little bit of herbal, little lavender notes in it. It's also like chocolatey, malty, toasty vibe to it.
It's all over the map in the most wonderful ways.
And you can buy this at, I believe these might be available at the distillery in either Valparaiso, Indiana, which is where we live, or Three Oaks, Michigan. But I don't know of the availability of this, so that's why it kind of didn't really make it into a top 5.
Right.
But I can't speak more highly of this one. If you want to get weird, if you're far along enough in your journey that you want to try some off the wall stuff or just kind of get into some really unique notes, give this a shot. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right, guys. Last but not least, on our most notable of 2024, the most notable distillery.
I didn't realize you had 4.
For us. That's all right. I'll stack them all together here. The most notable distillery for us, for several different reasons, is going to be Cedar Ridge out of Iowa. Okay? Mainly because, here we go. I couldn't find the bottle. It was their regular bourbon release. It's 86 proof, the best low proof bourbon that I probably have ever tasted. Period. All right? This is their barrel proof, right? I'm going to just keep going. This is one of their special releases, one of their finishes, the Amontillado, made it in our top 5 allocated. This is their Cedar Ridge. This is their double barrel.
You got enough room to put it on the
All right. This is their double barrel rye whiskey that made it into our top 5 of rye whiskeys for 2024. This is probably at the moment my favorite quintessential, their single malt release is their port side. Okay, we just discussed, we just went over, let's see, they're making bourbon. They're making some spectacular finished bourbon. I have a sample they sent me home with when we visited a distillery of the sherry finished bourbon. Remember that one?
That was this.
Was that what that was?
I was taught. Rodney messaged me after that.
Holy macaroni! No wonder why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
I didn't
great.
either. But he was telling me about it, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Anyways, they have all kinds of different special releases of different finishes and so forth. Spectacular, right? Rye whiskey, and we're talking American single malt. So they're making all varieties of whiskeys there at Cedar Ridge. And here's the point. Here's the kicker that I want all of you to know. They're selling it at efficient pricing.
And they also make a rum I have their port finish rum, and it is amazing. And I think it was about 60 to 70 bucks.
Well, this is port finish single malt. You're speaking my language.
Incredible.
Port, but
If Cedar Ridge ever does like a barrel aged gin, please do a barrel aged gin. I don't know if they're going to watch this or not, but if you're watching and you know anybody at Cedar Ridge, call them and just tell them please do a barrel aged gin.
We are considering doing a barrel aged gin show sometime in January.
Yep.
I don't know.
We have 6 of them.
Sounded fun to me, and I'm in. Back to Cedar Ridge, though, guys. Hey, listen. They are doing incredible things, and what I appreciate more than anything is their integrity to offer these bottles at fair pricings.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. I think this barrel proof bourbon is like $50.
Yep.
You know, this here was what, like $60?
Nothing from them on this lineup is more than $90.
No, that would be the single malt. Is
this and below are $60 or less. Unreal.
I mean, how can they not be the most notable distillery of 2024?
From the profiles you get from it, from the taste, from the experience, and from the price, all around is probably the best distillery, the best distillery this year.
Spectacular whiskey for a fair price.
Yeah.
God bless you.
How can you beat it?
I mean, yeah. All right, guys. Hey, that's all I got for you today. That was a lot. Trenton was kind of, he was kind of shooting from the hip, and we added a couple more as we moved along, but that's okay. You know, these are the releases that kind of meant something to us personally. Let's put it that way. Am I right?
Yeah.
They meant something to us through the year of 2024, and we're grateful for that. And for all those that are up here and everything else we've been able to taste in 2024, but most importantly, for all you out there, our community, our family, God bless you, man. We can't do without you. You are the most wonderful folks that I could ever imagine. When we started this journey, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever
5
it was,
years ago.
5 years ago, Trent and I I was freaking out a little bit because I did not want a whole bunch of nit-nacky, picking on, I wanted a positive group that had definite care and empathy for everyone in the community, and that's exactly what it is. And I can't be more proud of that. And it's an old guy being a little bit odd at the moment, and that's okay because older people do. But thank you to everyone out there that watch our shows every Monday and Wednesday and Friday. We love you. That's all we can say. We love you. Have the best Christmas ever and the best holidays. As always, we ask you to please drink responsibly. See you next time right down here with Trent and me in the good old basement bourbon bar. See you later.